Good morning. So, I got this idea in my head of a project I just want to try. So figured I'd go ahead and give it a whirl. And I'm going to be talking you through the initial project setup that I'm working with here. But years and years ago, a game was written for a Ludum Dare competition called Minecraft, and it has been rewritten so many times. So what I'm doing is not incredibly novel, but I'm going to try rewriting the original game from Java into JavaScript. And what I'm wanting to talk you through today is the initial project setup, getting this whole thing so that basically what you're looking at here is an Electron app. You can see that, let's see if I close this. You have access to the npm Node.js environment to do npm start, and it's basically a Chromium web browser that exists for the singular purpose of hosting your one site. And it has it's basically a two-process application. You have the renderer process, which is what you're looking at here, web browser. You have web development tool, the web development tools off to the side, as long as you have them enabled. And you also have the server process that gives you basically access to the full Node.js environment if you want to manipulate the file system or access a database or whatever you're going to do. And that actually has some interesting side effects. I built this using the Webpack plus TypeScript bootstrap template from the Electron Forge site. I have not decided if I'm going to use TypeScript or not yet, for reasons I'll probably get into while I'm chatting here. But yeah, you go to the package.json and you can see that the whole process starts in the server folder in the index.js there. I've restructured the folders a little bit from what the template comes with. And a lot of this you'll get if you just go through a basic Electron tutorial. There's a lot of basic things that you have to do for any Electron application. Got a function that will create the main window, give it the initial size. This icon doesn't seem to do anything in a Linux environment. I'm still trying to work that part out. So you tell your main window where you're going to start running from. That will cause this line right here is open DevTools. So when you run the app, it will immediately open up the DevTools window. And then when the application is ready, it basically bootstraps the whole application. It has some special stuff for Mac because Macs are weird. But basically you create this once and you forget about it. I added a couple things here to set up an API going back and forth between the server process and the client process. This part is interesting because it communicates inter-process communication. Basically, the renderer process opens a network socket connecting to the server process and can send JSON blobs back and forth. If you go through the Electron tutorial, it'll show you how to set up a little IPC, what do they call it, a channel? IPC channel. You call the ping channel a response with the text pong. And because of the way all this is set up, I'm also loading images from the server process. So if you call this channel gfx/get tiles, then basically we'll go through, dig into the API folder, gfx index, and it will use the image.js Node.js module to load up your icon. This icon's PNG. And and return that back to the renderer. Now you can see that there's basically a server, a client, and a preload. The preload is the glue that allows the renderer to access the server. And the whole thing is, it takes a little bit getting used to. And one of the problems here is that it's like for node modules. I can load in any node modules I want, but the node modules, from what I can tell, are really only available on the server process. I tried loading my image data directly from the renderer, and it didn't know what I was talking about. So, at least for now, it appears that like any complicated operations need to be pushed back to the server, which is probably just fine. And a lot of the neat stuff up here, I actually wrote this for another project like a year ago. Got the index HTML. Not much going on, just loads up the main JavaScript file for the client. Let's see, this doesn't do anything yet. And the main client, we are basically, this is going back. The preload file attaches an API to the window. We can go through that to get our tiles from the server. And we don't really need that anymore. Now that I have it working. But if we scroll to the bottom, you can see that we're doing this create context, which is loading in all the special WebGL shaders I'm needing to do my weird renderer setup, which I'll show you in just a second. And then we set up an animation frame to start our render loop. Of course, the render loop is also handling updates. This thing here is just like we check when was the last update time, have we exceeded the update interval, and if so, then we run another update. Most games, you have a update process. You have an update function and a render function. Usually they're separate, but I don't know. Just like put it together. But the way I have this set up, we're setting our display size to 160 by 120 pixels, because that was just the resolution of the Minecraft game I'm trying to clone over to JavaScript here. And then we're able to set pixels on display canvas, commenting out the stuff that was rendering the image to the screen. And we're going to render this pattern instead. Opening it's interesting. Not sure why that's centered to the left. Okay, so this pattern here is generated by doing this combination of XOR and an OR over the 3 color components, but you can also see there's a set pixel at 100, 100, these two numbers. Red and green are all the way on, and blue is off, so that makes a little yellow dot off in the corner. And I have the shaders set up so that, at least theoretically, the render area is centered on the screen. It's like no matter how you resize the window, it's still going to be centered on the screen. Or centered inside the window. You'll add bars to the top and the bottom or the left and right as needed. You know, I think this black area here is because the colors are becoming saturated when the width is going too far. Hold up. Test this one more time. invalid operation. Nope, swapping it back. Not sure what I did. I'll fix it in another video. Not bug fixing today. So there's a lot of content in, like, all this graphic stuff is set up inside the display folder. Go to create context, then you can see it adds the canvas to the document. The canvas is resized by the CSS file, so it takes up the entire screen. And grabbing a WebGL2 context and attaching some shaders. Building a shader program. And we grab these locations out of the shader program at the beginning so that we don't have to do it again on every single render call. And then all that is stored in a context variable that is stored for the duration of the program. And then you can see you have render and post-render. Render is just something that we wrote ourselves that will draw what we want on the screen. The post-render is what actually pushes all the pixel data out to the shaders. Text image 2D, we're feeding it our array of pixels, and let's see, target level, I think we're binding the texture at the beginning because we only really need one texture for this whole app. Basically, this pushes all the pixel data out to this one texture and then uses these frame buffer positions to tell it how to draw two triangles to the screen so that it basically it renders a square or a rectangle depending on what your resolution is. And if you dig through this, you'll see there's a lot of other things for, like, this will set an individual pixel in our pixel array, UN8 array. It's not a whole lot to it there, just an array of RGB values. And the I don't know, took a bit of trial and error to get this shader right. The vertex shader, it reads in the actual screen size and the screen size that you want to have, calculates the aspect ratio, and then does some things to make sure that the texture coordinate is actually positioned in the center, so you can have so it's going to fill it in with black on either the left and right or the top and bottom, depending on whether the width is greater than the height or the height is greater than the width. And the fragment shader, there's a lot of effects in here. I was using in another project that I've disabled for this one. But, so we're grabbing the color from the texture, and that's the color we're sticking on the screen. If I wanted to, I can turn on these other effects. And turn on all but the scan lines. Scan lines would require me to turn the time variable back on, which I don't really want to do right now. Hopefully this will just work and not blow up in my face, but let's find out. It's funny, I turned all the effects back on, but I didn't change anything. I'm kind of surprised. Oh, I know why. It is because you actually have to turn these variables back on so that all these functions actually do something with the fancy maths I'm feeding them. Didn't mean to do that. Here we go. But assuming I did that right. Oh. Hold on. Let's see if that one's right. Apparently not. You might just have to take my word for it. We're not using it in this project anyway, so it doesn't really matter. What matters is we have a pixel display that we can use to render a little game to the screen. And let me re-enable the image. But basically, this is a starting point for... I'm using this Minecraft game to kind of help me build an Electron-based game engine. Kind of gives me a target to reach for. And over the next couple of videos, I'm going to be building up a raster graphics library. So we're going to be reviewing some line drawing algorithms, circle drawing algorithms, flood fill algorithms. It's going to be fun. And that is all. Just wanted to give you all a basic introduction to what I'm doing. Pushing all this up to GitHub now, so if you're interested in how all this was put together, it should be relatively easy for you to clone the repo and get the thing running. But I don't know, let me know what you think. Let me know if anything here piques your interest, and hope to talk to you again soon.